Okay, so here we have the comparative analysis of Mustang versus the Virgin Suicides by me. And so we have the topic of to what extent do coming of age films differ in the representation of adolescence according to cultural context? And so in the film Mustang, which is our first one, we have a group of 5 sisters living in rural Turkey, and their culture is one that is strongly conservative and very patriarchal. We know that the sisters are always under the rule of their uncle, and they have very little say in many things that they can do. In the Virgin Suicides, it's completely different. It's set in America in the 70s in an urban suburb around the city of Detroit, Michigan. The culture, although the girls live within a Catholic household that is more on the conservative side, they have drastically different amounts of freedom that allows them to try new and different things and have more of a say for themselves. Along with that, the mother is more of the matriarch of the family versus the father who solely supports her. So within our analysis, we have the 3 major points that I will be covering, which is that of the setting differences, narration, and how the youngest sisters are framed within the films. So to begin, we have this setting within Mustang. We can observe that it is more nature-based. There is cool and bluish tones within the actual film, and along with that, when we see Lael get on the building top, we get a long shot of the Turkish countryside where we see a lot of forest, trees, and very little housing. It's more of a rural setting where you can get a sense of the isolation where the girls live, as not only where they live, but the kind of feeling that they have within their home where they have no one to run to, they have no real other place to go, they only have their home. They are isolated in the fullest sense. Meanwhile, in the Virgin Suicides, we have a few long shots and exposing shots of what the neighborhood that the girls live in. It's suburban. There's people walking around with their dogs interacting with each other. The houses are large, evenly spaced. There's a lot of trim but very, very well kept greenery. People are playing outside. There's a kid playing basketball. We see that these girls are not fully isolated from the outside world because the world has come to them. They are not solely alone while they grow up. There are going to be other people that are around them, that are supporting them, and most likely living through similar experiences, as there are seen to be kids within their neighborhood. Next is the shots of the youngest sisters. Here in Mustang, we see shots of Lale trying to get out of their house because she has been fully barricaded in. We see that she actively tries to escape and is seen as someone who is trying, and she's framed as someone who is trying to get out of her situation. She's not just taking it sitting. She's attempting to escape. She's observing her surroundings and trying to find a way to get out of the whole situation that she is within. She is not framed as someone who is submissive or docile. She is someone who is going to do what she has to do to find a way out. In contrast to that is the sister Cecilia, the youngest sister in the Virgin Suicides, where she's often framed alone, submissive sitting. She has a lot of downcast looks, very little interaction with other characters, and she's kind of dismissive of the others and their behavior as she walks away within this scene in particular. She isn't actively trying to do much other than just be there. She isn't trying to change her situation. She is solely there. Meanwhile, in both of the films, one of the biggest differences within the actual culture is that there is narration in both films, but the difference is that within Mustang, we see that the sisters are all living together and going through this experience, and the narrator of the film is Lale, which is very important because she is the person going through the experience and talking about it. Meanwhile, in the Virgin Suicides, the boys are the ones who are narrating the story without getting a full picture of what is going on. Their voice takes precedence, even though the sisters within the Virgin Suicides, the Lisbon sisters, are the ones who takes their lives and have to go through the trauma of whatever they went through within that house. But the boys' voices are given a superior tone due to their assumptions, and most likely a culture of men have a superior say over what women experience and live, no matter how it goes. This all relates finally back to the cultures and conventions of coming of age films. So within Mustang, we see that the girls are trying to invent their own future, and in that sense, coming of age is them deciding to get married or being married off, as well as the fact that they are trying to create their own future for themselves, where Lele and Esse escape from their lives within their homes in order to pursue something better, and that is seen as their freedom. Meanwhile, in the Virgin Suicides, we see that things like sex, drugs, and experiences with boys are more seen as more liberating and coming of age for the girls, as that is something that they are not supposed to be doing or allowed to do. And in conclusion, these two movies are very different, and the culture that surrounds them will completely change what is seen as revolutionary in a teenager's life.